Hey everybody, Mike here. Our assignment for this week was to talk about the challenges of balancing data focus and creativity slash intuition. And we were asked to experiment a little bit this week with video as well as pictures, so obviously here goes. So in looking at the challenges of balancing data focus and creativity, I asked myself first, well, through what perspective? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about looking at this through the eyes of, let's say, being a data analyst or a business analyst, and how you need to think about three challenges in particular. One being understanding culture, the second one being managing expectations, and the third being how do you mobilize the right capacity. So let's first talk about understanding culture, and specifically how it relates to decision making. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the area of healthcare, because I think we all can understand and have recognized that physicians and doctors, people in healthcare, make a lot of decisions based on intuition and what they've learned throughout their careers and what they understand through experience, basically. And this is actually very, very extremely true in places like such as Germany, and I'm sure Sabina is very familiar with this. Is that it's a culture that is very traditional, it's very hierarchical, and once you become a senior surgeon, let's say in a hospital, you're rarely challenged on your decisions or your decision making ability because it's just culturally not acceptable. But it is actually starting to change in data, and data focus is starting to change this in the healthcare in general through what's called evidence-based healthcare, which is just looking at the evidence and looking at I'm going to make a decision for a treatment based on evidence and not just based on my own intuition. And the reason that's changing is that a lot of payers of healthcare, so in Canada, of course, our government, or in what's always normally governments or insurance that are paying, they're kind of forcing doctors to look more at evidence-based healthcare rather than just making decisions based on intuition. So understanding anyways the culture of decision making, I think, is important when looking at the balance between data focus and creativity, again from the perspective of being a data analyst or a business analyst in a particular situation. Incidentally, what's kind of interesting with doctors, and I had a great conversation with a doctor about this, is that he said that they see things in pictures, whereas maybe the typical business mind sees things in numbers or in process, let's say, right? So again, I think if you were looking at this situation and understanding the culture that you're dealing with and understanding that doctors see things in pictures, then of course what you can do in visualization, I think, would be very important for this particular culture, let's say, that you're trying to address. Now, managing expectations, there's been a lot of hubris, big data hubris. Now, where did this more or less gain a lot of steam, and kind of, let's say, where it started was in 2009 with the Google flu trends. So in 2009, Google made this massive analysis of search terms, and they were able to kind of draw out in the United States where they saw trends happening in flus long before any other kind of statistics were provided by the healthcare community on where these flus were trending in the United States. So this, of course, was kind of this moment when big data started to gain a lot of attention. It was then followed by apparently a book that was on the New York Times bestseller list for quite a long time. I think it was actually called Big Data. And all of this is leading up to this hubris about big data that's going to change the world. And so, again, putting yourself in the role of as a business analyst and a data analyst, and what I've seen very, very frequently recently is that managers in business are kind of latching onto this, and they're saying, okay, we're in the big data business, and this is going to change everything. We need to do this. And it kind of stops there. And so expectations are skyrocketing, but what we need to do is kind of, and what I would do as a business analyst in a particular situation is bring it down a notch and just be much more concrete, using concrete examples about what we can accomplish in this particular environment with whether that's big data or data and analytics or just data in general. So I think, again, a challenge of balancing data focus and creativity for a business analyst is going to be managing expectations. Last but not least, mobilizing the right capacity. So this kind of goes hand in hand with expectations, is that your expectations have to be managed by the capacity that you can offer to provide a solution. Now, that can be in terms of not only the number of people or your budget and whatnot that you have, but what about the people that you have to, let's say, provide solutions? Let's say to develop dashboards, to develop any type of analytics. Now, taking a step back for a second, what is intuition? Intuition is something that can be innate, but intuition is also something that people have learned through their experience. And so if you're developing solutions for people that have learned through experience, it would be ideal to have those people that are developing your solutions to have at least had maybe some of that experience themselves, to understand how this intuition is created, or at least have the people that have the intuition involved in the development process, right? Because ultimately, I'd like to see it rather being a balance between data and intuition, but how can data support intuition? And there, I think, if you want to have some people that are developing solutions for a particular group, organization, etc., that they have this experience that the same people that you're developing for have. And then that way, obviously, you're developing solutions that ideally are enablers for intuition rather than this or that, or trying to balance it too. So hope you've enjoyed this little video, and apologies if it's a little bit too long, but anyways, good luck to everybody for the last part of this course, and yeah, talk to you later.